Okay, so you've got a set of
Yeah,
questions. I've got a set of questions. Would you prefer to answer one first, or would you prefer to ask one
I'm
first?
going to ask one first. Yes.
Right,
Well,
okay.
you gave me the option. Well, what was your reaction when you first read the script?
Ooh. Well, it's a Jim Eves script, so you always know you have to read it more than once because what you initially think the story is isn't what it ends up as being. And because the way Jim sold it to me, the character, so I knew he wasn't necessarily going to be a likable character to start with. And I always try, even if you're playing a baddie, a goodie, or whatever, I always try and look for some kind of empathy that an audience might relate to, even if the character doesn't really have any saving factors or isn't a nice person. So you're trying to look for some kind of common ground that somebody will say, well, I don't agree with him, but I can understand why he was the type of person he was. So what I did was I learnt or tried to get hold of as quickly as possible what were the first scenes that we were going to shoot and try and learn them to get a better understanding of the character. Then, when we come along and we met each other as a cast, it becomes like an organic process. So you get to know the people you're working with and you get to know how they're going to portray their characters. And I always find it's a dangerous thing when you read a script, especially a film script. It's slightly easier when you're on stage, but when you do a film script, how you imagine the story's going to go and what other actors put into their performance is so totally different when you're there yourself. The first question I had for you was that apparently you were the last person to be cast on the movie. And it was very close to the start of the shoot date. So, how did you find that experience?
Oh, I didn't actually know that, so that's interesting. Well, the experience was, Jim asked, he needed someone local. I'm Southampton born and bred. South Asian person to play my character. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. But I never in a million years thought I would get it because I'm not a trained actor. I'm not, I've not done acting before. So, just presenting, which is completely different. So then when I got it, I thought, oh no, now I actually have to do it. And I panicked and I thought, oh my God, read the script. And actually, I think it was lockdown when I did my audition. And I was that unbothered, that not unbothered, but I was that convinced I wouldn't get it that I just quickly did it very quickly. Maybe that helped because I wasn't as nervous. I just got on and did it. And then yeah, got it. Very exciting. And then I was going through these emotions of like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. How am I supposed to do this? I'm going to turn up and everyone's going to know I'm not an actress. Um, so yeah, that's basically how I felt. So, but luckily, I went through that uncomfortable feeling and did it. And I got to meet all you lovely folks.
Who's she talking about? Oh, supplementary to that question then. When you read and it links into what you asked me, when you read the character first of
Mm.
all, how do you feel your character changed as you were portraying it?
Oh, let me think. It's interesting because when I read it, it was probably how do I explain it? Obviously, my character's quite stern and, supposed to be quite serious and things like that. So I think when I read it as that. And then when we got into it, it was a little bit different, but I had to keep reining myself in because obviously I'm not a very stern person. So that was tricky. As you all know, I'm a giggler. Describe your character, Cyril.
There's not a lot of saving graces for Cyril. I found him really difficult to portray because I'd like to think I am absolutely nothing like him. But like with most people, playing baddies is more fun than playing good, nice people. So you try and play with it. And like I said before, you try and look for something where an audience won't agree with him. I don't think anything could agree with anything he said. But then again, if you watch the film, at the end, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but if you think about it, in his virtual last scene, I think even he came to realise. Can you tell me what was one of your most favourite memories from the shoot?
Oh. I have so many memories because honestly, we had a blast, didn't we? It was so good. It was literally so funny. I was belly laughing the whole time. It was just amazing to also absorb a lot of all. all the characters and all the actors that were there, because you got to remember I'm a first time actor and I'm looking at everyone thinking, oh my God, they're acting a certain way, but obviously not wanting to absorb their character, but absorbing their acting experience and taking tips. And yeah, do you know what? But my one one memory that does stand out to me a lot. I mean, I'm going to say it. I don't know whether Jim's going to use it, but is when Leslie and I were standing at said apocalypse box, and we she missaid her name basically, but it happens so many times. It makes me laugh now because it was just so funny, and I couldn't stop laughing. And then it was like action cut about 20 times. So I really apologize to all of you for that because oh, sometimes I laugh on my own. That's how sad I am. What aspects of your character did you find most interesting or relatable?
I think it just goes back to, if you just play the baddie, the racist, the bigot, you come up with what I think is a stereotypical performance. And I hope when people see it, they don't think of him as typically or stereotypical. If they do, I failed. If they don't, then hey, it's a small little victory for me. I look for little nuggets. And like I say, I'm not expecting everybody to say, oh, yeah, he had a just cause and a reason to be like that. He didn't. But I think it does play into the narrative of how easily a population or a group of people can be influenced from outside sources, and your what you think is a belief structure can be manipulated. And I do find that is a concern. What was the hardest thing about the shoot?
Ooh, what a question. Um, I have two things. So I think the first initial hardest thing when I started was really letting myself go, because I guess I was more aware of how I was coming across. So as I'm not, well, now I am an actor, I would like to say, but I obviously wasn't an actor then. So to be able to be, silly or not yourself and try and really get into the character. I think it took a little while for me to be like, right, this is it, and you really get into it and you feel like your character. And I think that was the initial thing. I think that I found that a little bit hard because I was not embarrassed. I know that sounds a bit weird, but there was a sense of, oh God, everyone's going to be like, why is she doing it like that? Because everyone has more experience than I do. Were there any particular inspirations or references you used for your character?
Tried not to. I, to be honest with you, Jim, I had a few conversations with Jim, and a bit like yourself. I mean, if your audition was like mine, ring you up and let's put you with a couple of other characters. Let's see how you sound against, and let's see how it works. And I'm trying to remember. I think it was Jack. I think I may have read with Jack. And what I tried to do was, make my own mind, as I've said before, about which angle am I going to try and push. Do we make it obviously he's a racist to start with, or does it take a little bit of time? And then look for the points where I think, oh, well, the audience may not agree, but they may understand that thing. And had total faith in what Jim wanted. And sometimes that's really difficult because it's, you go into something, you say, right, I know what I want to do. I know how I want to play it. And I so wanted for it to be the kind of character that Jim wanted rather than what I just wanted. You'll have to ask him. Your character experiences racism in the film. How do those scenes compare to any experiences you've had in real life?
Such a loaded question that is. Okay, how does to be fair, what was happening within it, I've experienced loads of times. So obviously, maybe not in that intensity, that intensive situation, but the microaggressions, the feelings you can feel from somebody initially, even though it may not be obvious that you don't even you don't even have to have like any words with each other. You just know. And I think that was definitely similar to any racism I would experience now or I have in the past. And yeah, I think in a way it sounds quite weird. It kind of helped me in my first acting experience because it's stuff that I've gone through. So you kind of know how you feel. It probably triggered a few things, so you do kind of feel a certain way. So maybe that helped me. I don't know. Jim will probably say whether it did or not, but maybe that helped. Um, so yeah, I do think there is a lot of elements, which is good because obviously we need to portray what goes on, and it has to be realistic, right? So yeah, I would say it definitely mirrored stuff that I have gone through.
I'll pick you up on something you said and go through now. Is the problem, does it still exist? Does it still exist in the same way? Or is it shifting?
I think the perception from people that don't experience racism is that it's shifting. That is a huge thing that everyone says, it's the times have moved on, it doesn't really happen anymore, blah blah. If you experience it and you're aware of it and you're probably more sensitive to things online or things like that, it definitely has not moved on. Maybe there is more diversity out there or more different ethnicities in more prominent positions, or it's moved on in the sense of leadership or businesses or visibility. But when it comes to racism, there is still, well, even stuff going on in the news right now, but there is still huge, you know, differences, polarization. Racism is still rife, unfortunately, Russell. Oh, what have you learned from working on this film?
I think I've, because working with you specifically, because I didn't know what you were going to be like. Oh, look, she's at it. Look. And you do, because I felt very guilty about saying some of the lines. And I know I went up to Jim a couple of times and saying, look, do you know, can I cut some of this? Can I do it? He said, no, I want it done that way. And quite rightly too. So I went on set initially with you and thought, oh, I hope she doesn't think I'm like that. But maybe because it is playing a role. Maybe that's good. I felt like that. Maybe that's the whole point. Because if I didn't give a damn, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's. I don't know if that would have been the right answer. And like you, funnily enough, I mean, you were saying, it's the first time you've ever acted, so therefore you're a little bit in awe. Well, don't be in awe because you're really good at what you do. And I'm not just saying that glibly, but you also joined in with everybody. But that never changes. Here am I, a lot older than you, Ariana, and I've been in the game 40 odd years, and I get as nervous and I get as worried, or are people going to like me? Are they going to think I can act or not? Do they think I'm faking it? Which we all are, we're actors. So, the same worries that you had because it was your first film, technically that doesn't go away. When you did a scene, when you were doing like either a highly emotional scene, or for you, you think, oh wow, I'd really like to see how they look. Did you go up and watch the playback of it?
No, I may have watched other people, but I didn't. I don't think I watched myself back because you're in it. I don't think I went over and had a look because I think it would just freak me out. I would just listen to Jim, and if Jim was like, "Look, do it more like this, give more this," that kind of thing. For me, that was really, really useful and really helpful, and also it's his vision, right? So I needed that kind of guidance, I guess, on how he specifically wanted it to be, or if I was being a bit too much or a bit too less. I think that was really helpful. But no, I don't know if I looked at it.
What do you think sets this horror film apart from others in the genre?
Genre wise, yeah, I just think it's so different. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a film, and I like horrors. I don't ever think I've seen a horror that combines all the elements, the story between us, the story between, Ella and Corin. Like, it's just there's so many mini stories within the story. It's just it's a really interesting watch. Like, I find it really interesting to watch, because obviously you don't see the end film as well until we went and saw the screening for the cast and crew. And watching that was like, wow, there's so many bits I didn't even know was happening. So yeah, I just think it's very interesting. How do you think audiences will react to the film?
I think there's a bit for everyone in it. Those that like the blood and gore will like the blood and gore. Somebody who likes the more. psychological approach to it. I think they'll enjoy. I think there's something for everyone in it.
And I like that it has got the political aspect as well. I'm going to ask you your next question because it kind of leads on, but why is this a great horror film? Apart from the fact that we're in it, obviously.
Yeah. Why is it a great? Because it's well written. We love a good story. We love a good story that doesn't go quite the way we think it should. Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. And I love, bearing in mind what's happened in our own country over the last year or so. And it couldn't have been timed any better, really, could it? And bearing in mind across the Golden Pond, they're about to go through something just as similar. Some of the maybe to extremes, but I mean, I don't know. Is it? Is it the idea of Piers Stone Smith being a possible prime minister or what have you? It's not impossible to think of, is it?